In the vast history of World War II, there are battles that change the course of nations, and there are battles that change the meaning of sacrifice forever. The Battle of Iwo Jima was one of those moments. A small volcanic island in the Pacific Ocean became the stage for one of the bloodiest, most brutal, and most heroic confrontations ever recorded in modern warfare. What happened there was not just a military operation, it was a test of human endurance, courage, and the will to fight against impossible odds. Today, we remember Iwo Jima not only for its strategic importance, but for the men who fought, suffered, and died on its black sand. Marines, sailors, medics, many barely older than teenagers, who faced an enemy that had turned the island itself into a fortress. This is their story. This is the story of heroism at Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima was small, just 8 square miles of volcanic rock, ash, and sulfur. But beneath its surface, the Japanese Imperial Army transformed it into one of the most heavily fortified positions of the war. Under the command of General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, more than 20,000 Japanese soldiers dug miles of tunnels, bunkers, and underground chambers. They understood they could not win, but they could make the Americans pay dearly for every inch of ground. Kuribayashi forbade banzai charges. Instead, he ordered his men to fight from the shadows, to wait, to ambush, and to bleed the enemy slowly. The island itself became a weapon. Every hill, every cave, every ridge was designed to kill. On the morning of February 19th, 1945, the United States Marines landed on the beaches of Iwo Jima. At first, there was silence. No gunfire, no resistance. Then suddenly, hell erupted. Japanese artillery, machine guns, and mortars opened fire from hidden positions. The black volcanic sand made movement almost impossible. Marines sank with every step. Tanks were immobilized. The beach turned into chaos. Within minutes, the illusion of an easy landing was shattered. What followed would become one of the fiercest battles in American military history. The men who landed on Iwo Jima were not superheroes. They were sons, brothers, farm boys, factory workers, students. But in the face of unimaginable violence, they displayed extraordinary bravery. They charged uphill into gunfire. They dragged wounded comrades through open kill zones. Medics ran toward explosions instead of away from them. Officers led from the front, knowing each step forward could be their last. Heroism on Iwo Jima was not a single moment. It was constant, relentless, and often unseen. At the southern end of the island stood Mount Suribachi, a volcanic mountain honeycombed with enemy defenses. Capturing it was critical, but it came at a terrible cost. After days of brutal fighting, U.S. Marines finally reached the summit. On February 23, 1945, a small group of Marines raised an American flag. Later that day, a second larger flag was raised. The moment captured in one of the most iconic photographs in history. That image became a symbol of hope, victory, and unity. But behind it was a harsh truth. 3 of the 6 men in the photograph would not survive the battle. The flag was raised on a mountain soaked in blood. Some names from Iwo Jima are remembered forever. Men like John Basilone, a Medal of Honor recipient who returned to combat and was killed on the first day of the invasion while leading his men forward. Men like Jacqueline Lucas, who threw himself on 2 grenades to save his comrades and survived. Men like Tony Stein, who made repeated solo runs under heavy fire to rescue wounded Marines and bring back ammunition, ultimately giving his life. But for every hero whose name we know, there were hundreds more whose bravery was never recorded. Men who fought and died without medals, without recognition, but with honor. Progress on Iwo Jima was measured in feet, not miles. Every bunker had to be destroyed. Every tunnel had to be sealed. Flamethrowers, grenades, and close-quarters combat became the only way forward. The Japanese defenders fought until the very end. Out of more than 20,000 soldiers, fewer than 300 were captured alive. The United States suffered nearly 26,000 casualties, more than 6,800 killed. It was the only battle in U.S. Marine Corps history where American casualties exceeded those of the enemy. Among the bravest men on Iwo Jima were the Navy corpsmen. Unarmed, they ran through fire to treat the wounded. They worked in open ground, kneeling beside fallen Marines while bullets passed inches away. Many corpsmen received the Medal of Honor, many posthumously. Their courage saved thousands of lives, and many paid the ultimate price for their devotion to others. Strategically, Iwo Jima provided airfields that allowed damaged American bombers to land safely instead of crashing into the ocean. Thousands of lives were saved because of that island. But beyond strategy, Iwo Jima became a defining moment for the American spirit. It showed the cost of war, not in maps or territory, but in human lives. Today, the image of the flag raising stands as a reminder, not of glory, but of sacrifice. It reminds us that freedom is never free, that victory often comes at a terrible price paid by the young. The heroes of Iwo Jima did not fight for fame. Most never expected to be remembered. They fought for each other, for the man beside them, for the belief that their suffering would mean something greater. Iwo Jima was not just a battle. It was a crucible of courage, a place where fear was constant, death was everywhere, and heroism became a daily act. As time passes and the voices of those who were there fade into history, it becomes our responsibility to remember, to tell their stories, to honor their sacrifice. Because the heroes of Iwo Jima were not legends when they landed on that beach. They were ordinary men who became extraordinary when the world needed them most.